On this week's show, we're going to take a look at some big bucks I made on some books. What is up, Galaxians? It's been a little while since I did a What Sold recap, and I've got some really, really interesting books that I've sold over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I thought it might be time to put it together a little What Sold episode. So we're going to take a look at some big bucks that I made selling books on eBay, Etsy, and more. Let's get into it. So I've got, I don't know, there might be 13 books here that we're going to go over today. Mostly on eBay. I think there's 1 or 2 maybe over on Etsy, and one nice big lot over on Mercari. This first book sold over on eBay. Lejos Marcos, an artist, rare out-of-print illustrated paperback. Picked this up in a big lot. You may recall back early in the summer, I picked up that lot of whatever it was, 10,000 odd books for about 48 cents a piece. This is from that collection. Listed and sold for $44.99 plus shipping and tax. The order total $51.45. Paid $7.21 in fees. Again, that cost of goods sold just 48 cents. Total cost $14.15. Net profit on this one book, $37.30 for an old paperback book. Out-of-print books obviously can command quite a bit of money. Another one from that same lot. This was a really interesting piece, a selection of some of the most interesting narratives of outrages committed by the Indians in their wars with the white people. Could not even get that entire title onto eBay. But a really interesting book. This had sold previously for other sellers in the kind of $40 to $50 range. I listed mine at $49.99. This was a hardcover in its dust jacket. Sold on an outgoing offer for, I believe, 10, maybe 15% off. It sold for $45.50, again, plus shipping, handling, and tax. The order total $55.62. I paid $8.06 in fees. Shipping cost $5.97, which of course was paid by the buyer. Total cost $18.66. Net profit on this item $36.96. Nice sale. Another one on eBay. I talked about back in, I don't know if it was late winter or maybe early spring. I was at a sale and I picked up a bunch of like Malaysian cookbooks for like 50 cents a piece. And I've previously had sold a couple of them that we had talked about in a previous episode. I've still got a few of these left. They're still selling here and there and bringing really nice money. This is Pengganalan Rumah, traditional Melayu Semenjang Malaysia cooking by Abdul Halim Nasir from 1985. This was a kind of a trade paperback, a pretty good size book. Again, picked it up for 50 cents at an estate sale. Had it listed for $54.99, sold it on sale for $49.49. That's a pretty good flip. Plus, of course, shipping and tax, $58.55 was the buyer's total. $8.46 in fees, $4.16 in promoted listing fees. Total cost for me, including cost of goods sold of 50 cents, was $22.18, leading me to a net profit of $36.37 for this Malaysian cookbook from the 1980s. These were interesting. I picked these up at an estate sale. It's probably been a couple of years ago. Part of a big collection of science and engineering books that were in the basement of a particular sale. These two, this is volume 1 and 2 of Fast Electrical and Optical Measurements. Volumes again, 1 and 2 from 1986. This was part of a NATO ASI series. This was 2 hardcover volumes. I had them listed, I believe, for $59.99 for the 2 of them. I did receive an offer of $50. That is $25 a piece on books I owned for like 98, 93 cents a piece, something like that. So I went ahead and took that offer. 2 books, $50 plus shipping and handling and tax. The order total $61.49. I paid $8.87 in fees, $4.37 for the promoted listing fee. Total cost of goods sold was $1.86. My total costs $26.59, leading to a net profit of $34.90 for these 2 old kind of science and engineering textbooks. I talk about these all the time. These were a little newer. I typically like the really old ones. But these looked really interesting, so I picked them up and ended up doing really well with them. Another interesting set. These were also from the big 10,000 odd book lot from back in the summer. This is the Science of Railways Cyclopedia. This is from the Railway Training Institute, and this is Air Brake Practice. This is a set of 2 volumes that I picked up again for 48 cents a piece. So I'm into these for 96 cents total. Had them listed for $59.99, sent out a 10% off offer to a watcher and sold them for $53.99 plus shipping and handling. $67.61 was the order total, $7.42. I paid in fees, $4.36 for the promoted listing fee. Cost of goods sold again, 96 cents. Net profit on these, $41.25. Good deal. Here we go over on Etsy. Frederick Soddy, The Chemistry of the Radio Elements, 2 parts in 1 volume. This was published back in 1916. So this is a really old, this was a paperback from the early 1900s. Had it listed for $84.99. I'm running a sale currently on Etsy and sold this for $76.49 plus shipping and tax. Again, the order total $88.40. I paid $8.21 in fees on this one. No offsite ad fee. Thank you very much. Cost of goods sold again, 48 cents, also from that big lot of books. Total cost to me, $20.60, which led to a net profit of $67.80 for this old Chemistry of the Radio Elements, 2 parts in 1 from 1916. I've had this book for a while, and I had it listed for quite a bit more money, and that had looked like kind of the going rate, but there wasn't a ton of demand for this. So this is Tradition and Innovation, a basket history of the Indians of the Yosemite Mono Lake area. This is a hardcover and it's dust jacket. I had it listed, I think, for $124.99. It was running on sale. It got a watcher. I sent out an additional offer just trying to move this thing and ultimately sold it for $78.74, which still is not a bad flip. $124 would have been a lot more fun, but I'll take it. $78.74 plus shipping and handling. $92.31 was the order total. $13.11 in fees. Again, no promoted listing fee. I'm on a run here with not a lot of promoted listing fees, which is pretty cool. Cost of goods sold on this from a big lot, 50 cents. So my total cost, $27.18, leading to a net profit of $65.13. This is a fairly hard to find book. I was hopeful that it would bring a little more money, but still, I'm not going to complain about roughly $79 from an original cost of goods sold of just 50 cents. Old religious books, I typically like. This one isn't really that old, but New Catholic Encyclopedia, the Jubilee volume of the Woltje years, if I said that right, 2001, an illustrated hardcover. This is a big, almost coffee table sized book, very heavy. Shipping was $8.22 by Media Mail in a box. Had this listed for, I think, $159.99, something like that. It is in my current clearance sale because I've had this for quite some time. So this did sell for $79.99. Cost of goods sold was just 50 cents. So it's still a good flip. Another one that would have been a lot more fun at full price, but you take what you can get sometimes. Order total $88.21. Fees $12.55. I did pay a promoted listing fee on this one of $6.26. My total costs $27.53, leading to a net profit of $60.68. So again, there are people out there who think you can't make money in books, and there are some really, really big winners out there. Here's another one, A Peculiar Treasure by Edna Ferber from 1939. This was a signed and inscribed first edition Doubleday Doran hardcover. I probably moved this a little too quickly. This was also from the big lot of the 10,000 odd books. I'm into it for 48 cents. I listed this for $89.99, and almost immediately, like within an hour, I got an offer for $85. Again, hard to complain with a cost of goods sold of just 48 cents to get 85 bucks out of it in an hour. So I went ahead and took that deal. Probably should have asked for a little bit more on it, but nonetheless, a good flip. $85 plus shipping and handling and tax. $98.15 was the order total. $13.92 in fees. Again, no promoted listing fee, which was very cool. Cost of goods sold again, 48 cents on this one. Net profit, $70.60 for this hardcover from 1939 that was inscribed. There was a gift inscription from Edna Ferber on this. Really in really nice condition for a book that's rapidly coming up on 100 years old. So neat old piece. This is one, I originally had this listed for like $350 because that seemed to be what the going rate was at the time I picked this up. A lot of watchers, a lot of offers that I sent out, just never really got connected on this one. It still ultimately ended up being a pretty good flip. But this is Edward Scobie's Black Britannia, A History of Blacks in Britain from 1972, was published by Johnson Publications. Hardcover in its dust jacket in fantastic condition. It was on sale for $125.99, and I received an offer of $113.39, which I went ahead and took. Plus shipping and tax, the order total was $126.62. I paid $17.84 in fees, $8.99 for a promoted listing fee. Cost of goods sold on this was $2. I bought this at an estate sale where I've talked about before. I went into this sale and I walked into the door and it looked like there were bookshelves behind the door. So I pulled the front door closed and here was this giant bookshelf full of Black and African American history books, including some from Britain. Really nice collection of books. I bought a whole mess of them for $2 a piece. They have sold anywhere from, this is probably the high point at $113, but a lot of those have sold for $30, $40, $50 and more. So that was a really, really good pickup. This was an interesting piece. These were also from a big lot. It was kind of a mixed bag, but these are the Richard Feynman Lectures on Physics series. It's volume 1, 2, and 3. And each of these hardcovers included also a workbook with it. So I had them listed individually, volume 1 with its workbook, volume 2 with its, and volume 3 with its own workbook. I had them listed, I believe, for $59.99 a piece. I got a message from a buyer overseas asking what I would take for all three of these. I said I would do $46 a piece on them and combine them into one package for shipping to save them money on the shipping because international shipping was going to be pretty stout on these. They agreed to that deal. So these 3 books, or 6 if you want to count the workbooks, sold for $138 plus shipping. The domestic shipping was $12.72. I have no idea what the international portion of it was, but I imagine it was pretty stout. The order total for, at least on my end, was $188.40. I paid $21.15 in fees. Again, no promoted listing fees. I believe that's probably because I built a custom listing. So that kind of took it out of it. This essentially was a brand new listing. So don't know for sure how this guy found them, but that looks to be probably the case. So no promoted listing fee. Shipping cost was $12.72 to get them up to Illinois, where they're going to get shipped on to Europe. Cost of goods sold for all 6 of these was just $2.76, leading to a net profit of $114.09 on these 3 books. Really interesting pieces. The Feynman Lectures on Physics, volumes 1, 2, and 3. I've talked about this occasionally, and I do this fairly regularly. I, again, had someone reach out about a bunch of kind of vintage 1910s to 1930s era literature and poetry books. They sent me a list of 22 books that they were interested in, and they asked what I would do, and I'm like, just make me an offer. And normally I would do 10 or 15% off. If that works for you, I will just build again one new custom listing for you, and we'll do it that way. They thought that was a fantastic deal, so that's what we went ahead and did. This was a custom lot of 22 old books that sold for $183.35 plus shipping and handling. Shipping was $20.22. This was 22 books in a box. Pretty stout. The order total $217.78. I paid $30.39 in fees again because I created a new listing. If there were going to be any promoted listing fees, I did not end up having to pay them, so that was good. My total cost of goods sold on all 22 of these books, $10.56, making my total cost $75.38, leading to a net profit of $142.40. $3.40. So nice sale, 22 books. It ended up being roughly $9 a piece, I guess. So not individually, these would not have been that fantastic. But again, I talk about pretty regularly. I don't mind to list kind of these lower $5, $8, $10 books, because in some cases you'll find somebody that wants a whole bunch of them. And then all of a sudden you've got a nearly $200 sale. And this will be our flip of, this might be the flip of the year. I talked about this a little bit in last week's live. This was multiple orders over the span of 3 or 4 days. So I had these bound editions of Sport magazine. They were custom bound, full years. I believe all of these were 13 issues. Some of them may have been 12, but they were the full volumes for different years, for 1947, 1948, 1967, 1968, and 1969 are the ones that this person ultimately bought. They bought 2 of them originally for $239.98. So roughly $120 a piece. That was 1947 and 1948. Those were the oldest ones, and those were the ones I had listed for kind of the highest price. They came back and asked if I had any more, and I said, yes, I have 67, 68, 69. I also have a couple from the 70s. He subsequently bought the 2 from 1967 and 1968. Those went for $191.98. And then he, I believe, was watching 1969. So I sent him a message and said, hey, are you the person that's watching 1969? And if so, I will send you a 15% off discount on this item since you have bought these 4 other ones. He said, yes, that is me. I would love that. So I went ahead and sold that one too. 1969 sold for $86.69 plus shipping. So all told, over the span of about 4 days, 3 days here, this person bought 5 bound editions of Sport magazine from the 1940s and 60s for a total price of $518.65. They paid $37.41 total in shipping across those 3 orders. Their order total for all 3, $596.25. I paid $69.35 in fees, $42.33 in promoted listing fees. My total cost of goods sold on these was $5. These were at an estate sale stuck under a table, kind of up front where the checkout was. And I saw them in there. I'm like, what would you take for this whole box? There were, I think, 7 of these, and then there were some other bound magazines in there as well. I think there were a total of 10 items in this box, and she's like, $10, you can have the whole box. I'm like, sold, I will take those. So my cost of goods sold, $5 on this deal. My total costs, including shipping and fees, $194.28, leading to a net profit in the end of $401.97. That is, as they would say, outstanding. So it has been over the past, this is probably 4 or 5 weeks worth of stuff that we're recapping today. All of these big sales on top of my regular kind of $8, $10, $12 books leads to a pretty decent little income just really selling books. So if you're inclined to be interested in selling books, there are tons of great resources. Obviously, hopefully videos like this are helpful to you. You can watch Katie Reed's channel. You can follow Max over at Paper Gold as well. He does really, really well. He's obviously someone we've had on the show before that does really well on Whatnot. So there are a ton of resources out there that can help you maximize your profit potential on books. As I've talked about here on numerous occasions, one of the big reasons I like them is because of that, obviously, very low cost of entry. Cost of goods sold, in a lot of cases, is under a couple of bucks. Sometimes it's less than 50 cents. Yes, some of these books sell for $4 or $5, which is still a fairly nice profit. It's a lot of work, selling a bunch of $10 books every day. If you've been following along for very long, I transact probably 100 transactions a week. Not all of them are big hits like this, but it all adds up together. But at cost of goods sold like that, you can make a lot of money and not have a lot of money tied up in inventory, which is the other big thing. When I got started doing this 6 years ago or whatever it was now, I didn't want to have a ton of money tied up in inventory because I needed money to live. So I wanted something that I could get pretty sizable quantities for pretty reasonable amounts of money. And books and media was pretty much a no-brainer for that. And it has been wildly successful for me. Again, as I've said on more than one occasion, it's not for everybody. You've got to have some time to devote to doing the listings and doing the shipping. You've got to have some space to be able to store this many books, or at least the wherewithal to lease, like in my case, some warehouse space so that you can do that. But there is huge, huge profit potential in books. So hopefully you got something out of this, found this interesting. If so, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Would love to have you along. I've been a little bit irregular with the shows, but hopefully as we get into winter here and things calm down for me outside of reselling, I'll be able to do a little bit more regular occurrence of the show. I am going to be live on Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to take a look at eBay just recently reintroduced their listing quality report. It's a report that had been available to sellers years ago that they had, due to some technical issues, decided to abandon for quite some time. They reintroduced that as part of the Winter Seller Check-In. It is now available, and I'm going to walk through how you can find it, how you can download it and open it, and what kind of information is available in that report. And then we can discuss live and in person, or at least online, whether that information is actually relevant and or useful. So look forward to that. Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. Hope to catch you on YouTube Live. Until then, my friends, thank you, I should say, for tuning in. As always, much appreciated. And until next time, it's time to sell. Thanks, guys. You have been listening to the Galaxy CDs Rocks and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you again next time.